Guys, today is the end of the fourth central plenary of the Communist Party. All members of Central Committee had a meeting in Beijing, and then today is the end of it. That actually reminds us that we haven't done our job to truly understand China. Like I said last time, that China is the elephant in the room, and the competition between China and the U.S. is elephant in the room. So in order to understand that, you have to understand China first. Then you have to understand the theory. I've been thinking about that. I talked about the last time about how the innovation growth theory. This time, they win Nobel Prize. By the way, there's two kinds of a thing. For the natural hard science, Nobel Prize is kind of a point of a discovery, right? Okay. And on the other hand, if it's for social science, you know, for economics and sociology and then history and societies, this kind of thing. Nobel Prize basically provide a point of a reference, new point of reference. That means that, to put this way, if we have not or was not motivated by the Nobel Prize and to do more critical thinking, to find out more, to continue the work, uh, Nobel Prize become meaningless because the real point of giving somebody the prize is to stimulate us to do more thinking, to keep going, to continue. So in that sense, I want to talk about the endogenous growth theory that I mentioned the last time. Of course, the Nobel Prize winner, they also, the continuing, when they talk about the innovation growth theory, they mention that the endogenous growth theory. Like I said, a lot of scholars, I mean, nothing personal, but a lot of scholars, they just, they, you know, listen to each other and they watch each other and then they just continue whatever it's been going. They said that previous scholars as the something set in stone, and then nothing to be debated. But that's not the way it go. It should be going. So let's ask us the question: what is the problems or shortcomings, weakness of the endogenous growth theory? Let's look at the positive side. I may not be able to finish it today, but let's look at the positive side. It's a milestone. It's a paradigm shifting from the solo model, neoclassical solo model. Um, that basically see the total factor productivity as the exogenous given, because it is set up as the residual model residual. So it means that we don't know where to come from. We know it's not inside the system. It's coming from outside. So that's obviously not satisfactory. Theoretically it's a lousy way to put it. But let's look at the endogenous. It seems like make a bigger progress. It gives us a new reference of a new point of references, and then because it says that the total factor productivity, the technology, the innovation is not from outside the economic system, rather it's from inside. And then we talk about research development. You talk about the knowledge accumulation. Talk about the learning from doing. Talk about human resources. All this kind of a thing, right? That seems to be a major progress. It is. It is. I'm not saying I'm denying that. However, if we stop that, then that will be a mistake. So let's look at what the problem is. They had actually two problems. Number one, to attribute everything to be internally generated, it's mostly right for developed economy, for countries like the USA, for America. because they are already innovation leaders. So it's unlikely for other countries to be having an external shock to make it, suddenly wake up and then say, hey, let's fix a lot of problems. That's unlikely true. So that's one thing. So that it's very logically sensible for us to look at the endogenous, look at the inside the country, inside the economy, look at the internal forces that give us the innovation, give us the all factor, total factor productivity boost, right? However, if you look at this, that's where the China it's such an interesting shock. That's why it's also that with China, with the U.S., we are in the best time to expand our thinking. So China gives an example that a developing country, developing economy, how did they go? When it comes to the drivers that make the China achieve more than 4 decades of economic growth. Okay, so that's one thing. That means that China, the number one lesson we learn from China is that the technology progress are more likely to come in from outside and inside at the same time. So don't forget about the one-wheeler theory. Forget about just one side of a theory and one single force, one man show. That's not unlikely the case. China tells us that, you could start it from external shock, exogenous shock, and then push the country to get on the path of changes. That's one thing. The second thing that China is telling us is that if you look at the Chinese growth trajectory, you'll find out that it's actually both two forces, two sides of the forces. That means that the supply and the demand. Okay, from supply side, so again, the exogenous, endogenous, they both have a supply and a demand side, and then we have to keep those in mind. Again, the idea is innovations and sustainable growth, sustainable development. It's a symphony. It's not a one-man band. It's not a one solo performance. It's a symphony. So you have to keep those continuous process. Where it's full of twists and turns. It's full of learning and full of success and failure, and then but keep going. The important is keep going. That's what China is teaching us. So obviously, we don't have time to get more details tomorrow. I'm going to talk more about this. What is the right theory? Why the endogenous growth theory? Why the innovation growth theory? They are both not very complete, not comprehensive enough. So need to be expanded. That's the central point I'm making. Okay.